In this sessions, we are going to learn concept of concept of Type C, how the Type C works. So, but before that, we should know about the how the Type USB 2 and USB 3 works. So, USB 2 have basically four wires. That means four connections. That is ground and supply. How much the supply? 5 volt. Ground and 5 volt. 5 volt is the supply. So here is the VCC. VCC stand for supply, and then is the ground, and this two wires that is called the D plus and D minus is for data communications, and this two wires is a bidirectional data communication, and such a port is called USB 2 ports. So USB ports normally used for keyboard, mouse, then there's a data transfer like hard disk and DVD writer, everything like USB 2 use everywhere. But the problem is the USB 2 is when we transfer a high capacity of data at that time, it take a lot of time because only the two wires are there for the data communication. So it's a slower. If you want to transfer suppose a 5 GB data, then it will take a lot of times to transfer the data. So for that is upgraded to the USB 3. So USB 3 have five more connections like 2TX, that is TX stand for transmit, and 2RX, RX stand for receive. That means 2 transmit and 2 receive. So 4 more signal, and one is called the ground. So that port is called the USB 3. Okay, and USB 3 is backward compatible. That means you can use a USB 2 also. Okay, USB 3 is a backward compatible. That means you can use USB 2 also. That means the USB connections are there as it is, plus there are 5 more connections to transmit and to receive. So the 5 more connections, so the data speed will be very high, because in USB 2 only the 2 connections, this 2T are D plus and D minus, but USB 3 are the 5 more connections. So 2 transmit and 2 receive, the data speed will be very high. So this is called the USB 3. But now the technology is speeding up, and new things are coming and need a more high speed, more integrations. So the new device is come, is called Type C. So what is the advantage of Type C? Type C is a backward compatible again, that is number one, plus some new features also added. So what are those features? So we'll see. So first see the connectors. So this connector of the Type C is a reversible. See, in the USB 2 you can't put a reverse. You have to see proper, when you insert the connector you have to see the proper connectivity or insertion. But in Type C you no need to see. You can put reversible. You can put ulta sulta, no matter. So that is the first advantage of the Type C, number one. Number two, the Type C is a backward compatible. That means USB 2 is also there. The D plus and D minus is there in Type C connector. Plus USB 3 is also there, like RTX, that means the transmit, and here also the transmit. So the 2 transmit, that is a reversible, that is also there, and received also there. Okay, so that is there. So it's a USB 2, USB 3 is also there. Plus this speed is very high. It's running very high. The speed is very high compared to the USB 3. Plus it added one more feature, that is a power delivery. It's called the PD communication, or the power delivery. So here is called the V bus. Here is a V bus. V bus means the power, voltage bus, the power bus. So here the power is a bidirectional. In USB 2 is a power only unidirectional. That means only the device can give the power to the output. Means suppose this side is a laptop, then the laptop provide this 5 volt, and from that 5 volt our pen drive or our keyboard or our mouse work. But in Type C the power is a bidirectional. That means power is a giving also and power is a receiving also. And that power is not only the 5 volt, it can 5, 9, 12 and 20. It can switch to any number of voltage. And to the power communication, they added one line, and that line is called the CC line. CC line for the configuration channel. Okay, and then one more line they use, that is called a SBU, that for the video communication. So type C port we can use for data communications, for audio, for network, for video, for power, anything we can use. So it's a multiple ports, but no need to use additional network card, additional audio, additional video. You can use a single wire for anything. So that is advantage of the type C port. Okay, so these are the connection you have to remember. I already told you this D plus and D minus for the data, USB 2, then the USB 3, this is a USB 3, and then the V bus, that is a power, and SBU, CC line for the configuration channel, the power delivery. Now each port have individual chip to manage the type C port. Suppose if you have a laptop which have the two type C ports, so there will be two chips who can manage the type C data, like the power as well as the data. So here is a Realtek chips to control and manage the type C port, and the all connection is connected to the this chips, all like the RX, then received is a mistakenly written a 2 time RX, but it's supposed to be a TX. So RX, TX, D plus D minus, SBU, and then when we connect any device, then the data goes to the chips, and then the chips transfer the data to the CPU, like that. And if any data comes to this type C controller chips, then type C controller chips come to know via this I2C bus. I2C bus is connected to the CPU, CPU get the log, and if the CPU want to send the data, then first he communicate with the I2C bus, and then he receive the data from the CPU, and then that data transferred to the controller or the next device or the external device. Okay, so in this way this communication take place via this transmit, received, and D plus and D minus, and if the video SBU. Then this upper section is called the power delivery system. In the power delivery system, there are this you can see this three line. One is line called the red line is called the SBU. Sorry, V bus. V bus stand for voltage. The power is come in also and come out also. It's called the bidirectional. And how the power communications have the protocol managed by this CC line. CC stand for configuration channel. So here the two configuration channels, CC and CC1, but that actually is the one only, because the cable is a twisted, that is why there is a two. Actually there is a one CC line. Configuration channel is one, where these chips communicate with the external devices, or the external devices send the data to these chips. That means who is the receiver and who is the sender. Okay, so the power is coming from this connector and it goes inside the laptop. So in this way this interconnection works. So we'll see how the power delivery system works. So suppose this is my adapter. So we can say it's a source. Source means the provider, and this section is called the sink, that means the receiver. So this size is a source and this size is a receiver. Then we connect the adapter, like we connect the cable to the both the device. Then first they communicate via the CC line. Suppose this CC line is a 0 volt, that means he is a receiver, that is called the pull down, is a receiver. And if this CC line is a pull up, that means here is a 5 volt, means that he is a sender. So he is a sender and is a receiver. So this first take place. Okay, and then he send first the 5 volt to sink. He receive the 5 volt. Once he receive the 5 volt, then they communicate via this CC line. They send the data how much the voltage is required. So the receiver communicate with the sender that I want 20 volt. Say so now he send a 5 volt, but suppose he wanted 20 volt, then what he do, he send the data in the CC line and says I want 20 volt. And then this guy, what he did, this guy do, he sent a 20 volt to this guy, like that. So in this way communication take place. In our normal adapter, suppose if you use a DC power supply or if you use any adapter, then when we set the adapter voltage, suppose we set to the 20 volt, then what happen, the 20 volt immediately generate and send, right? But here in the type C it is not like that. If you are going to test a voltage at the connector of the type C here at port at a V bus, you will find a 0 volt. Once it communication take place, then he send a first 5 volt, and then if he request 20 volt, then he send a 20 volt, like that. Okay, so in this way this power delivery system works.